I trust that even though she might have been a deep woman, from what I've read, she also might have been a very, very hard taskmaster, but there was a reason for it, and all of it, the end result was all very good, very well and good.
Well, Erna, when she created her families, her characters and her families, we were the family. When she, for example, when she would call me to talk to me on the phone, she would say, "Hello, Lisa," and I'd say, "Erna, this is Eileen." She says, "No, you're not, dear. You're not Eileen to me. You're Lisa. You're my family."
Yeah, I remember there was a story where I think there was one episode that didn't go off very well or wasn't acted, at least to her liking, and she called up the production office, and the person who picked up the phone answered it as the world turns, and she responded, "Not today, it didn't," and hung up.
That's funny.
Yeah. I know that being involved with this program over the course of the past number of years, you've had
47.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that a number of individuals you've had some. You wish that there was another one like in certain respects, and obviously I know I don't know if you wish to speak about this, and if not, I'll respect it, because I know that this woman here who passed away recently had a huge influence on reality television, and not many people really recall that she was also involved in the production aspect and writing aspect of daytime television in Search for Tomorrow, World Turns, and that was Mary Ellis Bunham. Because I know that that was a very interesting chapter, at least in your career, in regards to kind of like her being, dare I say it, the anti-Doug Marland.
Well, I don't know how to answer that, except that I do know that Mary Ellis loved the show, and she was very hard. She was tough, a taskmaster for us. But I don't know. We didn't see eye to eye, but as a little short time went by and I quit forever, we got back, and that was fine. When I say quit forever, I had quit 3 times.
So I gathered, but there's still it's interesting. No matter how far from home you go, you always come back. So
far.
I know that Douglas Marland, may he rest in peace, was an integral part in I think more or less harking back to what Erna Phillips had did in terms of
absolutely
taking characters and investing in them. And I know that he gave the opportunity for a number of the individuals who have been part of the core cast to really shine. I'm sure you have pleasant memories about him.
I love Doug. I thought he was wonderful. Wait, I have to go back for a minute. I didn't mean that Mary Alice didn't write the show, but she was the executive producer.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, but Doug was the head writer. Doug had started out on our show a few years prior to that as a doctor, and just in a short scene. And he thought, this is a very bad scene that had been written, and he thought, this is really bad. The reason why was because Lisa at that time was pregnant and she didn't know how it happened, and it turned out when he took her when she was in the operating room, and it had to be a cesarean, and when they cut her open, they said, there's nothing there. And he thought, this is really bad. I can do better than that. And certainly he did.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I think that story, if I'm wrong on this, kind of ties into another particular incident that almost happened but didn't, and because I think that was during the time of when you were doing the show live. And obviously at that time, even though Lisa was pregnant, you weren't, but still you had to show the signs that you were at least with child.
Wore pillows that gradually got bigger and the whole thing. Are you coming up to, I'm pregnant and I don't know how it happened? And I got so tired of saying that, but of course I had to say it for 3 months, and I thought surely I knew by now. But the organist,
Charlie
Paul, yes, he slipped off the bench, or something. No, wait a minute, I know what it was. The last act was just one page where I had to walk around and say, I'm pregnant, I don't know how it happened, how did this happen? And he flipped the page, and he thought it was the end of the show, and he went into the theme song at the end, and I started to say, oh, my goodness, we must be over in our time. Then everything was timed to the second. And I started to reach inside my dress and pull out the pillow and say, I'm not really pregnant. It's just a pillow. And if that had happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It's kind of like the film Tootsie, where actually they were alive and that incident actually happened.
I wonder where they got that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Being involved in television today is no different than being involved in television, at least as far back as the time when you were doing live. When I safely say this, primarily because being involved in broadcasting as I've been, you walk into a room where the electronics are concerned, and you have to keep them cold all the time. And the first time I ever really, when I was a kid, World Turns was on TV. I watched it if it was on, but I didn't really. This was the first time that World Turns was brought to my attention, because at that time, as a 16-year-old, I bought National Lampoon. And for those of you who don't know, listening, who don't know what National Lampoon was, just imagine The Onion, but more racier. And suffice to say, there was this one issue called, I think, the Pet Peeves issue, and I'm flipping through the pages, and there's this photograph of you making this face, and underneath there's a title, and it says nipples. I want you to explain that. All
right. Actually, I think it was Mad as Hell issue.
Okay, yes, it was Mad as Hell.
And I had on a white fur coat, but I had great big mittens. And I was covering my boobs with it, and I really did make a face. And everybody was supposed to write what their pet peeves in this Mad as Hell issue. And they asked me if I'd write something, and I said sure. And I went into this whole tirade about the cold air at the studio, and if they can go to the moon, why can't they adjust it? In fact, this was in the summertime, and having to stand there in little thin nothing dresses and be freezing to death, nipples stick out, and they would come running out onto the set, they meaning production, and say, we can't see nipples on the show. That we'll get thrown off the air by the sponsors. So they came, by the censors. And so they came flying out there, and they'd try to put Band-Aids across. And then you'd have these funny little shoebox sticking out in your boobs. And that was embarrassing. And so we couldn't do that. And besides, it hurt. And so the other thing that really got me was I said, well, if I'm standing there doing a thing with my mother-in-law, people are going to say, well, what's going on with these two ladies? And it was just all around just a terrible situation. And I understand that over at CBS for many, many years, down in the, I can't think what it is now, but where the men who take care of the air conditioning kept that article up on their wall.
So basically your essay on nipples is in the HVAC department right now at
That's
CBS
right.
in Manhattan.
That's it. And you know what? They just wanted a couple of lines. So when they read my article, they thought it was so funny that they did the picture. And then the guys came over to meet me. They wanted to see this wild woman. And they came to my dressing room, and I had a big show that day. And I had a lot to learn and memorize and things, and I had to go on live. I was extremely quiet. It makes me, I'm sure, terribly disappointed.
I like the last sentence in there, and I don't know it word verbatim, but it goes along the lines of, just my luck, the time will come when Lisa does have a romantic interest, and she'll be in a love scene, and the air conditioner will break down.
Oh yes. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I'd forgotten I'd said that. Yeah.